So I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita by Nitya Chaitanya Yati. The Bhagavad Gita. So, let's go over the introduction. We are left off around here. Let's see. So the teacher is in regular print and the student is in italics. So it explains what is Mahabharata. Let's see, what about here? Who wrote the epic? Vyasa did. And who's Vyasa? Who knows? So, within the Mahabharata, it's a huge epic. There's a section called Bhishma Parva. It starts with verse 830 of the Mahabharata. So that's where the Gita starts. 18 chapters of the Gita. But I'm not sure where in the Mahabharata is the Gita from the beginning to end. How many verses total is there? Anyway, I know that so what does the meaning of the word Bhagavad Gita mean? Bhagavad Gita. If Bhagavan means Lord and Gita means song, what's that mean? It's interesting. It's called a song in a very special sense. A spiritual quest of man can bring him great agony. If in his plight of anguish he turns to the Gita, he can derive from it consolation and solace, and he will have the feeling that he is listening to a divine song straight from the lips of the Lord himself. Only in that sense is the Gita called the Song of the Lord. The Gita is a song in the sense in which Plato means the rapture of higher intuition by his expression, the hymn of dialectics. I don't know what that means, or I'm not familiar with that. When a man does not know what his innate tendencies are, what his natural talents are, and what his basic drive is, he is likely to miss his mark in life. For such a person, the rediscovery of his true self brings to him a joy he has never experienced before. The Gita helps one to rediscover his real self, so he will naturally look upon it as a song of songs, as well as a book of books. So, the student asks now, could we say that the Bhagavad Gita is the sermon of the Lord? The teacher answers, it is, of course, a sermon of the Lord. Apart from being a sermon, it also reveals the nature of the Lord. It teaches man true identity with the Lord. Thus, it is a song of the Lord, about the Lord, and by the Lord. It is, in this sense, it is called the Bhagavad Gita. Is the Gita a holy book? Many people look upon it as an object of worship. Some carry it with them as a talisman. Others touch it to ward off evil. These are very crude and childish ways of expressing appreciation for the Gita. Actually, the Gita teaches us to go beyond the idea of the holy and unholy. So it is not right to look upon the Gita as a holy book. You should evaluate it as a book of great wisdom and approach it in the right manner. Why do you mean? No. The student asks, what do you mean by the right manner? So the student is referring to the last phrase or sentence where the teacher says at the end, you should evaluate it as a book of great wisdom and approach it in the right manner. So what do you mean by in the right manner? So the teacher answers, if you want to understand, appreciate, and critically evaluate a book, you should first be qualified to read it. Qualified. Am I qualified to read the book? This is called in Sanskrit having adhikara. Adhikara. That means competency. Secondly, you should know with what subject the book is dealing. In other words, you should know the epistemology of the book. Epistemology. Epistemology of the book. In Sanskrit, the subject matter is called Vishaya. Thirdly, you should know the method employed in the book to arrive at its conclusive teaching. The methodology adopted in a book is called its sambandha. Fourthly, you should know the purpose of the book and how you are going to be benefited by its study. In Sanskrit, this is called Prayajana of the book. It's axiology. Thus, if you are competent to read a book with reference to its epistemology, methodology, and axiology, you would make a correct evaluation of it. Only in that case can you claim to have the right kind of appreciation. Whew. So now I have to ask myself, am I qualified to study the Gita? Well, if you are already a knower of the absolute, like the great sage Shuka, who had no personal identity, and if you are always in a state of absolute merger with the Supreme, there is no need for you to learn the Gita. On the other hand, if your mind is full of external pursuits, and if you're always tormented by unquenchable passions and have no love for truth, you need not bother to study the Gita. So, I'm going to stop here and meditate on what I've read. Well, let me remind myself that I am asking the question, am I qualified to study the Gita? So first of all, I am studying this version of the Gita with its own translation and its own commentary. The translator is Nataraja Guru. The commentator is Nitya Chaitanya Yati. This edition was published in 1993. There was one before it in 1981. And there's one that's come out recently, well, maybe within the past 10 or I don't know, 10 or 18 years. There's a new version of this book that maybe I should get. Okay, so I'm going to stop here because I'm extraordinarily sleepy. So have a nice day, and we'll be back to read from around here. If I just have to remember the phrase, am I qualified to study the Gita? That's a good question. And this is part of the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. So the introduction is fairly long, but I think it will prepare us to study the Gita. Thank you for reading along. May it benefit you. May it benefit all sentient beings. Thank you. Bye.